Hi there and welcome back to the Drawing Database, Professor Marc Leone. Today we're looking at and spending 15 minutes with the drawings of William Merritt Chase. He's an American impressionist or realist in that genre, born in 1849 in, I believe, Pennsylvania, perhaps, and then certainly died in 1916 in New York. I know that for sure. I can't quite remember where he was born, but I believe it was Pennsylvania. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but 1849 to 1916. Anyway, the point being, let's get to the drawings. So the drawings you'll find in Merritt Chase a lovely realism with a loose, fresh quality, but a kind of a slightly more polished finish, using primarily, it looks like graphite quite a bit on a slight textured paper, and kind of a palm method where he uses quite a bit of the width of the line. So a really gesture line and three-dimensionality through line and a heightened kind of full sense of value and a little bit of shorthanding in terms of finishing it out, so it's not completely polished nor photo real, but really reminds me of Adolphe Menzel. If you've seen his work in our series, then you'll see that quite a bit. So nice job in with the palm, this relatively children's hands, kind of puffy hands in the thenar and hypothenar region, but nice slight foreshortening in through here, and especially the pinky, and the editing and the kind of effortless quality of the gestural aspect of the hands too are quite lovely. We'll see this quite a bit with his drawings. This lovely strong study reminds us a little bit of Singer Sargent's work, doesn't it? The charcoal technique of additive subtractive work, and this was taught quite a bit in my art school days at Art Center for illustration especially. But again, we see not a use of a background tone. That's a little bit different, but probably some lay-in of line here. You can see structurally where he's at with his head structure, and through there, of course, the neck. Then we see the beard. So probably a wispy kind of Conte line, or a line with a stump to lightly draw that in, and some quick structure, and then very quickly into some tonalities of block in with the chamois and or the charcoal pencil and or the stick, and then you'll see he probably smeared that around and then started erasing as well, and then honed this technique down further, and then began to, once he got past the block in, really get more specific with terms of edges, really nice quality of edges in shadow shape. You can see the simplicity, and if we go even a little bit further, you can see the additive subtractive quality of the marks and with the eraser. So it's no less expressive. Quite of a tour de force by certainly by William Merritt Chase, and it really harkens back to what we've seen from John Singer Sargent, and then also Steve Houston, one of my mentors at Art Center back in the early to mid 90s. This particular technique that he perfected for his own work to certainly a masterful level. So not only William Merritt Chase, but John Singer Sargent, but look up Steve Houston, Huston, for some further wonderful drafting techniques, and then coming back with a more kind of expressive, loose gestural finish to the nice portraiture. More delicate hands here. You can see if we go in a little bit darker, maybe laid in with a little bit of ink pen. I love these sketchbooks where we can get a little bit deeper. And so again, we see maybe the sepia tone kind of ink, and you can see where he laid that in, maybe testing out an ink, and he changed the position of the hands, or the hands changed position for him depending on his perhaps younger model, maybe a child or young betweener. And so he certainly changed that, the nice puffy kind of quality of the oval ending of the hand. Notice the proportioned and timely, nice, rich marks or darks to portend of volumetric quality as the light source comes this way, and so we find those shadows mainly on the opposite side of that light source. Nice dashes, almost symbolic, isn't it, in its almost effortless gesture as he's thinking three-dimensional, and then quite a few symbol or dots and dashes to get the three-dimensionality to come through. And then we see the other hand a little bit more fully rendered. I don't see the sepia ink undertone to it, but we see a nice, lovely conceived hand, right with its laying of the all of the digits here. You remember each time we have a joint, it changes a little bit the each of the fingers there with the bones, the phalanges, and the the carpals and metacarpals as well in through here, and a little bit of a cuff there, and a little bit of hatching into this work. Probably looks like charcoal, perhaps here a little softer, kind of a medium charcoal. And then of course he goes into full value as well to render the hand nice and sketchily completed. Here we have an interesting page of head studies. He has a very sort of angular approach to finding the forms a little bit. So almost a little kind of, you can see how it chops around a little bit, and then he has lovely grasp of structure and a little bit of cross hatching and hatching through, mostly just hatching actually. And you can see a lot of times artists will use sketch pads to kind of formulate their pencil marks and test that out, or sharpen a pencil with the paper on its side. You can see this is an old sketchbook of his, and then this lovely study of the main figure in front, the lovely young female here. It's kind of perhaps faded out over time or a little lightly sketched in. It looks to be graphite at this stage, and then lightly sketched in, where you see the structure here of the skull coming through eye socket, cheekbones coming across, and then obviously the rest of that mandible. And then a lovely suggestivity of the hair, a little bit of blending probably by the fingers and stumping. Just a little bit, but perhaps probably faded out over time because of age. But certainly we still see again some of the lovely sketchings of William Merritt Chase and his masterful quick sketch draft technique with a combination of charcoal and probably graphite, certainly, and then a little bit of sepia chalk we see here in Conte crayon a little bit, perhaps done out of his head as well. Quicker sketch of perhaps a theater artist or actor. It looks a little bit Shakespearean to me, with the kind of the Dutch sort of necktie perhaps, or maybe Tudor English style. You can decide on that, but certainly from William Merritt Chase, probably on either charcoal or graphite. It looks to be charcoal to me on probably an aged, torn, somewhat sketch paper. Very simple kind of lay-in, and then full tonal value. Notice the marks that he gets. He gets this from the palm methodology of turning that pencil, holding it within the palm and turning it sideways, so we get the fat part of the pencil. So if this is the lead exposed and we have the shaft here, then he gets all of that. It's a nice thicker mark that he gets, and he uses throughout the tonal qualities of the drawing. Notice the timely darks in through here to give a little bit of underneath head structure, under the ear, under the longer hair, and in through, and then the puffiness of the quality of the cheek and the eye. Notice the round quality, the three-dimensional quality of that, almost like a sphere, and then the outer edge boundary of the head to finalize the head. Very gestural but complete volume study in a impressionist effort. I love the glasses, kind of Hollywood for that time. So, he died in 1916, so I don't have the exact record of when this was done. This technique of sketching with looks like graphite reminds me a little bit of an artist I admired when I was in middle school, Paul Calle. Calle, who worked in graphite and was an illustrator for years, had this sort of loose graphite style, turning it more to the side after getting a little bit of inclusion of the shape orientation of the lay-in. Very kind of angular lay-in, not necessarily kind of rounded or complete, but more kind of angles this way to fashion figures, which works pretty well. And then we see these figures down here, a quick sketch, and then perhaps another quick sketch down below out of his imagination of a kind of an uglier sort of figure of male with interesting sort of spinely kind of marks to signify maybe spiky kind of hair, or very disgruntled, angry, frustrated attitude. And then of course back up to this wonderful female with these beautiful kind of John Lennon glasses on her, about 44 years, 45, 50 years earlier than perhaps expected. But a lovely study here of economy of means and quick sketching, and using the pencil tip as you would paint. Another lovely portrait. We see quite a bit of that in his study sketches. Notice a head in profile. Here's the structure right in through there. Notice the kind of triangle that comes through, right in through there, and then over and through and around. And we see that structure really coming through in a slightly tilted, turned down model. And then again, the lovely stylings of the pencil technique, probably in graphite, more to the side to get a more bold stroke, akin more to painting, and the little detail styling in the beard just a little bit in the symbology. This is probably where students struggle the most, is how to understand hair and simplify that to a few value patterns and get the stroking rhythm working enough for you to move it around with a kind of economy of means in through there. So it's a good tour de force for that type of look and training. And lastly, another portrait here. It could be of the artist, but a long, thin portrait. Looks very literary. Here's the structure coming through in through here. Again, another sort of profile for sure. And very calligraphic in the marks. Notice the symbols, the dots and dashes, that when read together make a lovely statement on dimensionality, some contouring lines and hatched lines that you won't find on the model, but that you understand in drawing give us a movement and a rhythms. These are things you want to start looking for. Look at Raphael, look at Leonardo, look at Michelangelo for contouring in the forms and the direction, the very much the way in which the directions move the form and how they're placed are very important to get us to move across a form and make it three-dimensional. This is important, this stroking through here, up and through here, even though it looks scratchy and sketchy, and then you ask yourself, why does it come together so complete? Is that he understands three-dimensionality so well that we can start to loosen up the kind of binds of the rigid technicality for a more looser expressive form, but it's hard to get there immediately. You need to learn your lessons and eat your vegetables before you have your dessert or more expression. So, and that comes with being a student as well. So there you have it. William Merritt Chase, Impressionist American, born in 1849 in Williamsburg, and died in 1916 in New York City.